Jim Orr.
Simon McLean.
Great to get you over here. We're far travelled.
Southside.
I think this is a new series that we're starting now, and I think you're our first visitor from fields afar.
Especially chosen.
Yep. Must have taken you, what, 10 minutes to get across the city today?
Easily, Simon. Yeah, easily.
Jim, you've adapted your love of football into a creative form as well.
Yes.
You alluded to it a wee minute or two ago.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about how you got involved in writing and that creative side of life.
Okay, did the kids football for about 20 years, and it came to kind of natural conclusion with about 2012.
Okay.
So, and you know this better than me. That's what Bertie all talks about. That's better than me, son.
Some man.
That I think everyone says that I'd like to write a book, I'd like to write something,
sort
of thing. And I was no different. I'm going to write something at some point in time.
Yeah.
But I'm not much of a reader. You know, what I've read is mainly football, autobiographies, biographies, type of thing.
Do you know Frank McPartlin? Plays at East Kilbride. No, he plays for East Kilbride walking football. He plays for us now and again. Right. And I think he's coming down for the over 70s. Anyway, Frank got my book and he brought it to the football and he said, "Can you sign it for me?" I'm sure it was Frank. In fact, I'm doubting now who it was. But he said to me, I've only got 3 books. I've only ever read 3 books. Good. And they've all been signed by the author. Right. Jock Stein, Jim Baxter, and now you. So I'm in good company.
Absolutely. So I thought, right, sitcoms. A big comedy fan. Love sitcoms. Spent a couple of years writing. I tried to come up with an original idea. Wrote a sitcom. That's a long story.
See, sitcoms need to be short. That's the thing. That's where you went wrong.
Well, in fact, I mean, a typical sitcom episode is only 4,500 words.
Right.
You know, I can write an email with it. That's 4,500 words. So it's nothing, basically, because basically what you've got is dialogue, and what you've got in your book, obviously you have to fill a page.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're writing dialogue for people talking, so it's Simon, hi Jim, how are you? Jim, no bad, Simon. And
that's a page.
So, you know, 150 words on a page. It's nothing. You know this.
Yeah.
You know this better than me. You know, having written your book, how many words on a page, etc. So you think sitcom, then do that anyway.
So you were just being lazy, really?
Aye, because that's doable.
Yes.
I mean, a book, turning the title, how long did it take to write your book?
About 8 months.
So, goodness.
Once I decided to do it had been lying on the shelf. It was lockdown made me do it.
Well, I suppose it's your life story, maybe that's different from maybe creating a book and doing research and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That goes with it. So,
and I wasn't bothered about telling the truth.
It's a great title.
I wasn't
going that's a really great title.
The truth, the whole truth, and something like the truth.
That's a great subtitle. And
so help me.
Simon McLean. So 2014, I thought I'd write a play.
Okay.
I'll go for a play, and they say, write what you know. What do you know of football? Think what you know of football. And my sister's an actress.
Did you know a playwright or anybody that had done this before? Or?
This is what I'm going to tell you.
Right.
This is a good question, son. I'm glad you asked that question. My sister, Alison, who's a singer, actress, sometimes producer.
Right.
And there was a play written by Tony Roper called The Celts in Seville, which was about 2008, came out. And my sister was producing it.
The 300,000 that went to Seville.
80,000, come on, just exaggeration. So my sister was co-producing it with Celtic. Right. And Tony Roper wrote it, and so she was tasked with getting all the kind of props for it.
Okay.
And she knows nothing about football, so she says, "Well, could you get me scarves, strips,
right.
Now, if you're a football fan, you can't just go out and get strips. You know. So, what strips did Celtic wear in 2003? They wore the old NTL strips, and then when they got to the final in Seville,
C.R. Smith or something.
Carling brought out. Carling strips and stuff like that. And then somebody was talking about having like a Brother Walfrid statue on stage, and I'm saying, did they build that in 2005? And so all the obvious. So anyway, I got to help out.
Got you embroiled in it.
And they did something called a table read.
Okay, yep.
And basically, Tony Roper then says, like, Jim's a really big help, would you like to participate in this table read? Aye. So, sent me the script, and the script was only 65 pages. Again, that's a big email from me.
Yeah.
And so Simon, that's Jim, that's all this kind of stuff. So
I've seen your emails.
Table read. And loved it.
I've not finished any of them yet.
Loved it. There was attachments to it. Loved it. And but I'm thinking 65 pages, that's doable. Yeah. And that wee thought stuck with me. That's doable. And in fact, I wrote a couple of scenes just to see if I could do something featuring the characters in the play. And one of the plays that I've written recently, I've taken that whole scene and stuck it in there because it was transferable.
Yep.
So 2014, I then think I'd like to write a football play. What will I do? So that was 3 years before the Lisbon 50th anniversary.
Okay.
And I thought, Lisbon 67.
Start it now.
Start it now. 3 years to do this. And like, who's going to come and watch a play by a chartered accountant? Nobody. Like,
Only if you confess to being a chartered accountant.
Genuinely.
Other chartered accountants.
Other chartered accountants.
That'd be a great night.
Whatever the collective noun for that is. You guys.
I can think of a few.
Lisbon 67, I'll do that. And then, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, oh, somebody will do this. A kind of proper playwright will do Lisbon 67. They'll do that. And I've got no chance of anything.
Had it not been done?
Aye, it's been done before a number of times, but
Yeah,
it was the 50th anniversary
different takes on it.
and you're thinking, this is a special anniversary, and
Yes.
so it plays with Jock, Steve and all this kind of stuff.
And still alive, most of the team at that time.
Indeed. So I thought, and then I thought, somebody will do, some proper playwright will do this, as opposed to the chartered accountant doing it. But I loved the 67 idea, because I've researched all the stuff, and I'm a big music fan as well. Loved all the music of the time, and it was such a pivotal year. I mean, football-wise, Scottish football-wise, you know, Celtic came to Lisbon, won in Lisbon, Rangers got to the Cup final, Corran got to the semi-final in the
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dundee United beat Barcelona at home and away that season. Scotland went to Wembley and beat England. You think, hold on, right, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Wembley 67, we'll do that. So I did that, wrote a play, and I called Ben Like Baxter, as a kind of play on Ben Like Beckham.
Is this one of your plays?
Yes.
What was the first one then?
That's it, Ben Like
Bend
Baxter.
It Like Baxter.
Ben Like Baxter, because I thought that's a quirky name for a quirky play.
Yeah.
Just madcap comedy.
Wembley Wizards and all
Couple
that
of guys,
stuff.
basically a couple of mates going to Wembley, getting trained down, meet a gangster. The gangster's got a bag full of money, he gives it to them. That's a basic premise of it.
Right.
So touted it around, nobody's interested. Why would they be interested?
Where do you tout it? I know where to tout a book, you go to publishers, so what do you do with a play?
Theatres and drams.
Production companies?
People in the business, all that stuff, right? So, nobody, understandably so.
Production companies, Chris?
I'm no bitter, understandably so, nobody's interested. Why would they be?
Of course.
Why would they be? So I'm thinking, what's my angle here? So, I set a website up as well, Facebook page, Twitter page, all this kind of stuff. And then
what's it called?
It was called Ben Like Baxter, yeah.
Okay.
Ben Like Baxter.
Right.
Pretty awful, I was not I was flowing.
Facebook and
Facebook,
Twitter.
and then I had an idea that here's a wee handle on this. So this time it's like late 2016.
Okay.
So I wrote it.
2 years before.
I wrote it maybe 18 months before. And the thing about writing things, as you know yourself, it's never finished.
No.
You can always add.
It's an ongoing process.
Make that joke funny, or take that bit out, do this kind of stuff. So you can do all this kind of stuff. And so it's come towards the end of 2016, and we're drawing the same group as England for World Cup qualifiers. I was in at Wembley, we stuff 3-0. But my idea was there's two iconic photographs of Wembley 67. There's the guy with Law at the end, his arms and Law as he walks off the park, and the two guys with Baxter pulling them apart. I thought, I would try and find those fans. Like, so mates think I'm bonkers, basically. I'm like stalking old men, basically. Like, I said, no, I'm going to find them. Like,
before our interview, I thought you might be bonkers, but now I'm totally convinced him.
Just well.
That's good. That's a plus.
Sam McLean with 10%. So I think, where do you start? So I then starts emailing some journalists I don't know, and I said, my name's Jim Orr. I've written a play, Ben Like Baxter, and I'd love to find the three guys.
And now you're saying I'm the playwright, Jim
Orr.
When you drop that accountant shit,
and that's a bit, we were chatting earlier about people, new people you meet now perceive you as an old guy.
Yes, yeah.
And you can't perceive the same people as young people.
As young men.
You know, so you really don't get that at all. Yeah. So I am a playwright now. I don't believe I am, but if you Google me, that's what you'll see.
If it says in Google.
And it's like a charter who writes daft stuff.
I'm an author now.
An author, of course. So email some journalists, and a guy called Graham McPherson, who's in the Herald, comes back and he said, there's a journalist called Brian Foley, who works in the Sunday Post, who interviewed the guy who was there? The guy
Baxter or Law? Dennis
Law. Yeah. So he lives in East Kilbride, and you're thinking, well, if I want to watch it, he lived anywhere. So long story short,
too late. You're an hour too late.
I'm going to interview him anyway, and my expectations were like up here somewhere, because I'd watched the game a dozen times, I'd analysed the game to death, I'd done all the research.
You're so prepared for
this.
this.
The guy Peter Dallas, who actually played for Third Lanark. This guy, right, that's a whole other story. So I'm going to see Peter Dallas, and and I've got my tape recorder, my laptop, I've got like 50 questions for the guy. Remember, the guy's in his mid-80s, right? Yeah. So we're chatting away, and I sort of said to him, like, so when Dennis scored the first goal, he said, oh, we went fucking mental when we did that, and did all that, and all that, and this, that, and the other, and then I said, and then when Bobby Lennox scored, what happened then? He said, hey, the Lennox scored that day. Brilliant. Cut. What's the point of this? So did that, we do that, and then so I've got an interview with this guy. I've put it on my website. Nobody looks at it. No. Basically, and then it got to New Year, and I thought, this is now, we're now in 2017. This is the 50th anniversary, so I have to try and push this best I can. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to email all the papers. I emailed every paper going, and I said, I've found one of the guys. Can we find the two guys with Baxter? And the first one to bite was the Daily Record. Right. And you couldn't ever get a bigger fish. Of course. Loved the story, this is great. So, long story short, I got a 2-page spread in the Daily Record. Jim Orr, playwright. Yeah. And all I've done is write this play.
So from the Daily Record?
So, got a 2-page spread, Daily Record, and what they said was, I said, I live round the corner from Howden, and this shows you how much I won't say the word, I said, I could meet you at Howden, and I've got, as you've seen yourself, the 67 top, and I could keep you up, you know. Yeah, you've got it all staged. I'm thinking, I'll do anything for this, for the fame. So, guy comes down, photographer, and it's pouring down, and he says, I'll tell you what I want to do, Jim. He says, can you jump forward and do that? It's like jazz hands. Okay. You're thinking,
you get the top on and all that.
So I'm thinking, this is my casting couch moment. So eventually I can do this, and then the Saturday the paper.
You won the engine?
No.
That's unusual.
Stayed my finger. So you again get Daily Record, 2-page spread. Can we find these guys? Can we find the guys who are
brilliant?
Brilliant. And it's me doing this. So later on that day, I get an email from somebody that I've heard of before, Stevie Miller, and then Stevie Miller says, hello Jimmy, I'm from Off the Ball. Right. Okay. We saw your piece in the record, love to have you on.
Brilliant.
Because Phil Differ, who writes Only an Excuse.
Yes.
I got to know Phil through my sister, he was in the studio that day. Okay. And he said, I know Jim's email address, so he gives me
just shows you.
So it's just moments, and then so basically I got on Off the Ball on the day of the 50th anniversary, which was this was the January, it was in the paper, and then I got on in April. And I know somebody, getting back to the school football again, somebody who's kind of used to coach, was asking me, what are you up to these days? And I told him the story, and he said, my brother, he loved that. He was Andrew Smith, who went for Scotland Sunday. Okay. So it's Scotland Sunday now, playwright, Jim Orr, with no play. Just written this thing, that's not on anywhere. So, a long story short, the record finds one of the guys, and lives in Blackpool, and they do a feature on him. And I thought I got off badly with doing this, but they've got this wee old man dressed up in the tartan tammy and the St Andrews scarf around him, the flag around him. So we do that, and I'm thinking, so I went Off the Ball, and Tam Coon saying, so when's the play on, Jim? And it's no on. And I'm saying, well, just to finalise the dates. We'll just have to see. And then it's going nowhere, as I said, understandably so, why would anyone want to put this on? And then the light bulb moment was the next month, because I'd looked into how much would it cost to
so you do it, self-published sort of thing? Yeah.
And it'd be like 20 grand or something ridiculous. And who would come and see it? Nobody. So
but you'd be taking all the risk on it.
It'd be a non-starter, basically. And then I went to see...
Because it's a promotion that's almost impossible without...
You need actors rehearsing, you need to hire the theatre, you need insurance, you need a whole set, all this stuff. So the following month which set me on the road when a playwright, stage playwright. I went to see something called The Lions of Lisbon, which was on Orr and Moor, and it was brought out on the 25th anniversary, and it was written by Ian Auld, who's Bertie's late brother, a guy called Professor Willie Maley in Glasgow Uni. And I get to Orr and Moor, and there's 12 people on the stage, and I'm thinking, how can they afford this? Because I'd cost all the stuff out, and it was something called a rehearsed reading, which I'd never heard of before. Okay. And the rehearsed reading, and most people know what that means, is basically no set, no costumes, and I've got the script. Right. So
got the script in their hand.
Script in their hand, and it was jeans and t-shirts and stuff like that. Right. It's basically some guy stands up, says part.
Kind of easy jet play.
Easy jet play. So to do that.
No frills.
And you're thinking.
There are other airlines available.
And you're thinking, what's this about? See, after 5 minutes, you forget.
Yes. Because your imagination.
That's the policeman.
Yes.
That's the nutter. That's the mad auntie. That's that. And that was a light bulb moment.
And that gave you...
I went to see my sister and said, how much would it cost to put something like that on? So it wasn't like, it was maybe £3,000 or something.
Right.
So you thought,
it was manageable.
I've went so far with this. You know, this is my main.
And an accountant can write that much off. That's no bother.
So I thought
taxman's paying for it all the time.
We'll do it. I'll do it, and I'll organise everything. So I made up the poster, which is pretty basic rubbish. There's companies in Glasgow you can get who will take your posters and put them up.
I know a guy that does all this stuff, production stuff. It's a pity I never knew you then.
What's going to mention this guy, no?
Now I should be making the hand signal, but we'll pass on that.
So, and they put your flyers in the Ducats, you know, the leisure centres, because they own the Ducats.
Okay.
And do all that, and then there's a couple of Scotland match I went to, and just hand out flyers, stuff at the games.
Sorry to interrupt you, just a quick, when I was doing a charity thing years ago, it was a thing down in the salt market, and I discovered that everything has got a guy that does it. Putting the posters up, you know, the posting. You had to go to this guy in Glasgow. It's kind of gangster stuff, you know. Oh, big man, you can't put a poster up. Well, this is a long time ago. You need to go and see Joe, and you need to backhander him, and all this has got to happen before you can put a fly post up.
Because I was handing out flyers at Howden, and I put a poster up in a pole, and the policeman come along and said, you can't do that something. Yeah. Or old man, you can't
well,
do
if
that.
the policeman hadn't done it, this guy that I'm talking about would have been at your door, burning your house down and burn your poster.
So you do everything, and then you say, how much does it cost to hire an actor for a week? And what you do is, you have 2 days rehearsal, so you get round the table with the actors and you rehearse it, and then you do something called a technical rehearsal on the day, so you go to the theatre on the day,
right? And
you get the lighting guy and this sort of stuff, and I'd made up videos.
You know what you should do? You should write a book about how to put a play on.
Well, I've had loads of people kind of asking me, you know, as if I'm a success story, how do you do this? And I said, well, just did this good. And then, because when mates were saying to me, what you should do basically is just hire a church hall, get a couple of amateur dramatic actors, and ask your friends and family. But I went too far down the line with this, and because my sister knows a lot of actors and actresses, I ended up getting like 5 actors who are well-known faces on the telly. The guy that plays Steve the Bookie in Still Game, right? So he's one of my actors, Mark Costello, lovely guy. Brilliant. So you end up when you're doing rehearsals, and I'm sitting there like Cecil B. DeMille, the feet on the table with the script, try to pick your moments because you're thinking these are professional actors, and I'm a character.
Naveed from Still Game, he comes here. His boy plays for Pollock.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you're trying to pick your moment because these are professionals, you know, and up to then, I said before, but kids football was the greatest thing I'd done. That was the greatest thing I'd ever done at that point in time. So managed to fill the bit one night. You're doing one night in Websters in the West End, and I mean I think a third of the audience were like friends, family, work mates, all that kind of stuff. And managed to publicise it because it was on off the ball and stuff like that, you know. So it took about £1,000. So spent 3, got 1. Best £2,000 I've ever spent, because that then became the launch pad to do other things. So it has done that.
No, that's the starting point. Yes. And you've learned by this time.
Oh, you learned
everything that took you days and weeks to do would take you a lot quicker. You get the phone numbers, and you've got
tons, Simon. And then what happened after that was I wrote the Celtic play, and Nick Celtic was going to write. And if you're a Celtic fan, pick an event. I'm not a big fan of plays about people. Okay. You know, there's been a few Jock Stein plays, but if you know the Jock Stein story, all you're doing is watching the Jock Stein story played out. Whereas if you write something that's a wee bit mad, a wee bit inventive.
Can have a plot.
Oh, it's got a plot, it's got something else, and it's got football as well. Yeah, and that's the way I was going to go. So I did this.
It's kind of like historical fiction, isn't it?
Well, what it is,
do you know what I mean? You're taking a real thing from the past and building characters around it, and to take the story forward.
Absolutely, 100%, because what actually happened next was I was trying to pick an event in Celtic's history, what will I go for? And it was coming up to the 20th anniversary when Celtic stopped Rangers doing the 10. Right. You know, Larson and Lambert, Wim Janssen's team. You know, so I thought we'll do that.
When Walter Smith chucked it.
When Walter Smith was, I mean, it's a fascinating season.
Yes.
On so many levels, it's a fascinating season. And a bit like Wembley '67, you can ask me loads about that season, I can tell you, oh, that happened then, and this was a big one. And Walter Smith said he was going, that was huge. You know? And
when are you doing 1971, when the Jags won the League Cup?
I was just waiting for the commission for coming. And because I'm on a Celtic podcast called Celtic State of Mind, and I keep referring to this season's very similar to that 97-98. The new guy comes in, and he's made such a big difference, and the two teams keep dropping points all the time. That's what that season was like. So then this Celtic play then, and obviously a Celtic play is more marketable than a Scotland play. Yeah. You know, you've got a Celtic play on, chances are you'll get some interest in it.
And global appeal.
Oh aye. So then so what do I call it?
All the way down to Saltcoats.
What do I call it then? Loads of titles, and I thought, you know what, I like this Bend It Like. I'm going to do a series of this. So you think, well,
did you do that after the film came out? Because the film was Bend It Like Beckham, wasn't it?
Aye, well.
Or did they steal that for you?
So Bend It Like Bratback is what it's called, because you could have, because that was again the kind of quirky title.
Right.
You could have went Larson and
Of
Lambert,
course, yes,
the
the obvious ones.
So because he's the guy that scored the goal that ended up in the league. So we put that on.
You couldn't bend it like Tommy Gemmell because that didn't bend at all.
There's the alliteration. Alliteration. So it's bend it like starts with B, 2 syllables. And then you discuss.
This is the advanced course we're on to.
So as you said before, once you've done something once, you can then replicate
Yes,
that. So you think, okay, I lost money last time. We'll do 2 nights. And it sold out because it was a Celtic play, and it washed its face.
And you knew how to publicise it and market it as well.
And it went, I mean, the reaction was unbelievable, basically. And what happened then was, I went on this...
So you're a brand now?
Ah, brand.
For going on a bender?
Bend
Any kind of bender?
Oh, bend it like.
Jim Orr's your man for a bender.
Bend it like. So, having been on this, a Celtic state of mind, I think overnight I went from like 5 followers on Twitter to like 200.
Yes.
And some of the followers were people with big followings.
Yes.
Tommy Sheridan.
Influencers.
Tommy Sheridan was on this.
Yeah, he's one of my followers right now.
He was on the podcast, and obviously Fordix is on the podcast. And Tommy's got like 60,000 followers.
Since he met me.
Of course. So if Tommy, another kind of like-minded Celtic fan with big followings, like what you're doing, they'll retweet it, and all of a sudden, it's a wider audience. So we put that on, and the guys in the play loved it, loved the reaction, and then we said we'll do a proper performance in this. We did 5 nights.
Wow. Whereabouts?
Websters again, 6 months later, but a proper performance.
Okay.
So
we're away from the rehearsal script now?
No scripts now.
No, we're on to proper...
No script, and because you didn't actually need costumes, it's just people
it's
during the season,
yeah.
And it was like kind of...
a set? Did you have to build a set?
Well, one of the guys was able to get Celtic Park, there's all the old seats lying about, and we could actually borrow some of the
Where's the Green Brigade stand now?
Oh, I can't say that.
Oh, there's
and we got some seats in there, so that was like kind of match scenes were there, and then there was like a kind of table and some chairs, and that was basically it. It was much more than that. So we do that, and then again it sells out, and then the guy himself knew a few kind of well-heeled Celtic fans and convinced them to go on the SEC. 6 months after that, I mean, it's not the big SEC, it holds about 600 people.
Okay,
so we did
it's the Regal.
We did 5 performances of that over 3 days, and that was quite bizarre. Quite bizarre where you walk through the SEC.
Did you film it?
For my own purposes, I don't share it.
Okay. I didn't mean to share it. I meant there's another market there globally
because
of the
not to any great standard like this. No, just a kind of it's a wee video just remind me it was there. Chris Buck's a legend.
In his own mind, aye.
Produced by
a legend in his own lunchtime.
Produced by Chris Buck. I mean that's a sign of quality, surely.
Chris Buck Productions.
So when you walk through the SEC, you've got the monitors there in the SEC when you walk in the door. Right? So it's like the first 2 monitors say the same thing next to us, and it was like Rod Stewart was coming. So it was Rod Stewart, and it was Little Mix, and it was like Ben Braddock.
And your name?
And you walk through, and there's all these security people.
Did it say accountant?
No.
Ex-accountant? No. That's good. That's good you get rid of that label.
The thing is, when you first start doing this stuff, seeing your name attached to something is weird. Yeah. You must see it in the book.
Yeah.
It's just weird seeing it, and then you get to a point where it's not weird. You know, you can think.
No, it's still weird.
Is it?
See, when I got the books, everybody pre-ordered, right? Because the big things to get pre-orders. There was there's a couple of hundred pre-ordered. I can't remember, but I had to sign them all because the deal is if you pre-order, you get a signed copy.
Right.
So they came to my house.
Right.
Because whoever was supposed to get them was on holiday. It was somebody at Ringwood was on holiday or whatever. So I got them to my house rather than wait another week to get them.
Right.
So I had all these boxes and I emptied them all onto my desk to sign them. And then I did the wee video. I've still got the wee video. I'll send it to Chris where I'm saying, I've got my books here, but we're not sending them out. I like them that much now that I'm keeping them. And people were messaging me saying, I've paid £10 for that.
It's off my book.
Yeah.
So we did that, and went down really well again, and as I said, quite bizarre. And then COVID hit, and then when COVID hit, I had the follow-up planned, which
was
Ben like Bertie, which was then take you back to the 65.
Bertie old?
Yeah, 65 cup run where Jock Stein comes back, and Bertie came back as well. Bertie was there in 61. He came back January 65. And Jock Stein came back, and Bertie had a huge influence in that Scottish Cup run, as well as scoring 2 goals in the final. So he was a kind of main guy. It's not the Bertie Hall story, and I was at pains to point this out to people. It's not the Bertie Hall story.
No.
It's a story about the Cup run.
And he's just a catalyst for
Bertie.
it.
And then what happened next was...
And what a character. I'm so privileged to
I met him a year and a half
And he never changed. He never changed a bit.
So funny, such a funny guy. So we did it's one of these things that I think over the last, the few years before I retired, I started saying yes a lot more to things. I don't know if you've ever seen the film Yes Man.
Yes, I have, Jim Carrey,
It's based on a book by a guy called Danny Wallace. Yes
Right,
Man.
I didn't know that.
Very funny book, very funny book. If anyone doesn't know this, it's a guy who just is a bit like a low ebb, and then he finds the power of yes, and just says yes to everything. I mean, he says yes to everything,
Yes.
you know, and that's what's funny. I don't say yes to everything, but it's more the kind of...
Jim, while you're on that topic then, so you agree with that? Yes.
I think, especially when you're older.
So can you bend it like Simon?
No.
There goes that theory right away.
Well, I think you can always find reasons for not doing things.
Yes.
And I think the more you say yes to things,
yes.
not bizarre things, just because you think, well, here's a couple of reasons for doing it, a couple of reasons for not doing it, well, just do it.
Yeah,
but if you think, I'd never do that, there are no good reasons for doing something and then you don't do it. And I kind
so what are you trying to say about my play? My idea for a play?
It's crap. One of these things that sometimes doing one thing leads you to other things.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so bend it like Bertie. Has that not been seen yet then? Because
yes,
of lockdown?
No, it was on last September. What we did was stand Des McLean.
Right.
So funny guy. Very funny guy. Because what we did was, and that's about saying yes to things, in that I invited Des McLean along to see Ben Bratback when he couldn't make it. It's just kind of, and he was a big Celtic fan, he's a comedian, you might like to see this sort of thing. So you can plant these seeds. Couldn't make it, and he said, love to come and see Jim, I'm doing something, which usually means I don't want to come because I'm interested in coming.
But he feels obliged to come the next time.
But what he said, any chance my brother could come, he's a big Celtic fan as well. So his brother comes to see it and loves it and nips his ear about it, about how good it was. And then a couple of months after that, Des contacts me and said, would you be interested in making a play that I've been asked to be in about a gambling addict?
Right.
I mean, I'm about to say no, obviously, because you think all that things, you know, that's a heavy subject. And he says, well, I'm meeting the guy next week, come along and meet the guy. I said, yes, okay, yes, I'll go along and meet the guy. So we go along and meet the guy, and it's his life story,
right?
The guy, and it's harrowing, really, really harrowing.
Any football connection?
No. So there's no football connection, there's no guy So I go away and think about it, right, so how can I make this funny but heart-wrenching as well? So I come up with...
It's only 2.5 pages after all.
So I come up with Bend like Brendan.
Right.
So the guy's a gambling addict. Every night Brendan comes to visit him at night when he sleeps, listens to his dreams, and Brendan's full of himself, basically, you know. And the guy loves this idea. He says, oh, it's brilliant. And then the guy sent me something himself that he'd written, and it was harrowing. Really, really harrowing. And I said to Des, oh, you be Ben like Brendan, this is just fluffy nonsense compared to what this guy's went through.
The real story.
And I said to the guy himself, I said, look, you know, you've got a story to tell, and that's another long story which came back. So we met the guy again, and I said, look, and he was loving this. Oh, Ben like Brendan, it'll be brilliant. And Des do the voice, and the Brendan Boyd's voice, and all that stuff. And we said, nah, this isn't going to work because it's just too
sit together.
And the stories the guy was telling, harrowing.
And you definitely don't want to trivialise the story. That's the danger, isn't it? That you detract from the message.
I think what the guy had seen was like Orr and Moore, and you're thinking, well, trendy West Indies come along and see something like this. You've got this is for the young offenders institution. This is for them. The guy ended up making a film about it. Which we just released a couple of weeks ago.
Brilliant.
So, but afterwards, Des was saying, well, you know, he says, on my bucket list, a Celtic play. I want to be in a Celtic play. And I said, well, I'm inviting one just now, Ben like Bertie. And I said, we'd be interested. Oh, I'm interested in that. So I goes away, and there's a message on my phone, and it's 5 minutes of Des impersonating Bertie Hall. You know, I promise you, son. I promise you, son. I promise you, son. You know
that's already.
Entertainment, we jinky, you can put bums in seats, just. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, hold on, this is a bit of a game changer, because I'll put Bertie Hall in the play. I'll make him a character. And how I tried best to explain this is, imagine going to see the new James Bond movie and Bertie Hall's in it. He's like 001030. It's like he's in the thing. You know, so it's not his story.
No.
He's in the thing. So not only will I write Bertie Hall in the story, there's this Bertie Hall. So you then like this is, and then send him the script. Loves the script. This will be good. And then COVID just knocked it for 6. And then eventually we managed last September to put it on this Websters place again. Rehearse reading again just to test it out. And we did 3 nights this time, and it sold out. you know.
And you've still got it? You've still got it there? But Des will be busy, of course, he's got his radio show and stuff
we
like
went
that.
to the Beacon last November, did a one night, so we've got a
Right.
tour organised at the end of May. It's a shameless plug now. Everything was leading to this moment, sorry, we've got a tour organised for late May, early June, so we're going to, you know, Aberdeen and GLENROTHES and Inverness and OBAN and a whole bunch of places.
So you're really, it's real global stuff.
So this is the first time I've, you know...
Boston, you should go to the of it over there.
Well...
In fact, you should go to Australia, Sydney in November, might be quite good.
Well, we're too late for
The
Vegas.
play, what do they call it, Sydney Opera House. Well, Celtic are playing Rangers round the corner. Come on, get your marketing heat on.
There's a convention in Vegas every couple of years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of COVID,
And the taxman will pay for it.
They booked all the acts last year, and then COVID stymied it, so they're having it this year. It's the same acts. Otherwise, the guy who's organised it said we're in. The part we're in first time, next time we're in. We've been on.
Okay.
So that's where I am just now.
And to bring us right up to speed, because the research I did, I always read research thoroughly before I speak to MD in here.
You got my name right. That was good.
Aye, Jim Orr. I've got it written down. Was the one that got my attention was the Newcastle.
Oh yes.
Bobby Moncur.
Bobby Moncur. What do you want to know?
When is that? Is it done? Is it written?
Oh, it's
written.
Finished? It's written. I wrote it for the 50th anniversary of the first Cities Cup.
71?
69.
69? No, I was thinking the Jags again.
69, no, you got to get out of that mode.
Yeah.
Kind of funny story, again, to do with it. Anyway, I've also a soft spot for Newcastle, like yourself.
Right.
60s, Bobby Moncur, the strips, closeness to
Why
Scotland.
have you got a soft spot?
The Scottish connection, the strip, close to Scotland, just those are the kind of main things. And then you do the research again. So I've read every
That's
single...
nothing like my reasons. I went there for a weekend with the boys and it was mental.
Okay, you can see the standard of this. So I've read all, I mean, Newcastle in the early 1900s with the Man United third day.
Yes.
You know, they were either winning the league or second league, got out of the FA Cup finals.
Yeah.
So I've read all the stuff about
And
them.
it is some city, isn't it? It's tremendous.
I mean, people talk about who are the best fans in the world. I don't think you can have the best fans in the world. But if there was a claim to something like that, you would have to
They'd be up there.
to them. Yeah. They've won nothing forever. I mean, they've not won a league or cup in your lifetime. So imagine being a Newcastle fan and not, they're giving us and the teams
so
like,
close as well when Keegan was there.
and the entertainers. And you know, your teams like Villa, Notts Forest, Coventry, all these guys have won something. Newcastle won, they still roll up time and time again.
Yeah.
So
and they're on a roll now.
I
8 unbeaten just now, I think.
as long as they escape relegation, they've got a chance next year to do well. But so I like to play as well. After because I did Baxter and then nothing happened for a while. So that's when I wrote Bennett like Bobby and Bennett like 2 syllables B. And so let's play about the first cup run to the final, win the first cup obviously. And
we're back to the syllables again, aren't we?
Aye, and then
Moncur.
So again, how are you going to get this on? Because nobody's interested in Baxter, who's interested in Bobby? So I then contact the Chronicle in Newcastle.
Simon's got 2 syllables. Simon. Sorry, I'm just thinking here, Jim. About the Chronicle in Newcastle. Jolly one.
Desperate man. Let it go. So I contact the Chronicle. The guy loves it. He says, "Oh, brilliant idea. This is great." So he then phones me up, and I'm interviewing him. He's interviewing me on the phone.
Right.
Glasgow playwright Jim Orr, who has written Bennett like Baxter, which has never been on anywhere.
Famous Glasgow, the Glasgow playwright.
And what I was saying was basically, I said, fess up, I'm not a Newcastle fan, I've got a soft spot for them, and I'd love to hear from people who were at the game, people at that time, so I can add a bit more authenticity into it. So and a few people contact me on the back of this thing. Right. So what's my kind of funny story is that it's like,
about time we had a funny story.
Sorry, so Chronicle. So there's something called there's a group called the Fairs Club, right? So it's a bunch of guys who I think on the 25th anniversary thought it'd be good to recognise that achievement. Yeah. So it's not like Celtic with the Lisbon Lions are lauded. So this was and then the players loved it. The fact that they thought people have forgotten what we've done. So this Fairs Club, they have maybe a kind of night every year, once a year. And when the Chronicle guy contacted me, and then Googling stuff, and then there's an advert for like Fairs Club night, and it was like 2 days later, and it was a semi, because they beat Rangers in the semi-final that year, so it was a semi-final night. So they had Bobby Moncur, they had Ian McFall, the goalkeeper, Wyn Davis and somebody else, and then the Wally Henderson was going to go, Colin Stephen was going to go, Wally Johnson, Alan McDonald I think it was, and it was 2 nights later. And I'm thinking, I need to go to this.
Yeah.
I need to see Bobby Moncur. I need to get a poster made up. Right?
Yeah, and get some pictures.
And get a picture of Bobby with the poster. My mate's thinking, you're mental. Yes, like, I'm mental, but yes. I need to do this.
But I'm a playwright.
So I'm a playwright. So I wouldn't even daft Tesco posters. You've only got 2 days, you can't go to printers with this stuff.
No.
So I've got this daft new poster, Bender like Bobby, coming soon. Coming soon. Coming never. Coming soon. Bender like Bobby, and he's standing with the first cup in front of it. Right? So
you haven't written a word at this point?
Oh no, I've written most of it. I've written most of it.
20 words.
Most of it. 2 pages. And most of it. So contacts is kind of chronicle. And sorry. The phone number's there for the first club. So they're having this night North Shields, the first semi-final, and it's a tenner. It's North Shields. So I phones the guy up and I says, "My name's Jim Orr. I've written a play about Newcastle. Any chance of a ticket's a sellout, son?" And I said, "I've written a play. Any chance?" All right. Ask for Joe at the door, sort of thing. Like, I'm in, great. So I go back to the Chronicle guy and I said, "I'm going to North Shields," and he said, "Oh, it'll be in the paper that day."
Yeah. "And
it'll be online that day." I said, "Fine." So my wife had some bonkers as well. Take the album, go to Newcastle, North Shields.
She knows.
Chris Butler's now doing that signing. So we go to Newcastle, North Shields. I'm sitting in the corner. Before it starts, they've got all this memorabilia at the front. So it's like an Alan Shearer signed photograph, say Gaza signed photograph, whatever it is. And you think, if you've been to any of these things, you know they're going to go for hundreds of pounds.
Yes.
And
there's Gaza strip.
Well done. Just but available for bar mitzvahs. So they have this framed drawing of Bobby Moncur with the first cup, and there's a poem beside it.
Right.
And I'm thinking, like, if I'm going to try to see Bobby Moncur, I'll try and buy that. And I'll walk up with this thing, because I look as if I'm a fan.
Yes.
Because my idea was, can I get Bobby Moncur to take a picture with this wee daft
Can you do a Geordie accent?
Oh, aye. Why, man?
Yep. You got it.
Why, Bobby? So, Bobby? Aye. So,
and make sure you don't wear a jacket.
So
Nobody ever wears a jacket in Newcastle.
That was more Welsh. So I go to Tesco, get my wee daft poster, and I think, oh, looks alright. We'll go to North Shields. Head down North Shields. I'm in there, sorry, and I see this wee daft. It's not daft. It's a wee frame. It's very nice, but it's a bit iffy. So it's just sitting there. And then the first half wasn't the main guys. So Tommy Craig was there.
Right.
Tommy Craig played for Newcastle. So it was a few ex-Newcastle guys who were one of the big Bobby Moncur type stars. And then at half time they have the auction for all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm going to try and buy it. I'd have 50 quid with me, that was it. And I'm sitting in my Diet Coke in the corner, and they surrounded by it was packed. And what was bizarre about it, Simon, was that people would walk in. There's a guy called what's his name? John Gibson. John Gibson's like the Archie McPherson of Newcastle. He knows, he's been reporting on Newcastle since the early 60s. He knows all the players, type of thing. Right. And then he's comparing this kind of thing, and then he'll say, "Whoa, hold on there. There's Malcolm. Malcolm McDonald walks in. No, just waving. It's bizarre. There's Malcolm. We're waving to Malcolm." So I'm sitting there at half time, and then it gets to this. And the next we'll get this lovely, portrait of Bobby with the cup and a poem by a local lad, Johnny, whatever it is. And it says, "Who'll give me £30? Silence." On the corner, £30, and it was 40. I'll go 50.
You went in straight away.
50, I'll go 50. Silent. Sold, the guy in the corner, me, 50. Right.
How'd you get him?
So I then noticed somebody going buying their thing, obviously to pay, because the guy said you can pay at the end to everyone. If you bought it, you can pay at the end. And I'm thinking, I'll be at midnight, go back up the road, I'll go and pay it now. So I goes out, pays my 50 quid, that's me skint, basically. Yeah. Because so it goes back. And I've got this thing, right, and I put it under the table, right, and the young guy beside me, he says, "Oh, that looks brilliant." Well, there's a Newcastle accent, can I get a photograph of it? Of course. So I put this thing, this picture, this framed picture of Bobby Moncur with the thing, and he's taking a picture of it, and his pals are taking pictures of it as well.
For nothing?
Oh aye, so I'm very generous. So I put it back under the table, and the guy then, so I've now got a pal. Right. And he turns in and he says, "Are you going to the game on Saturday?" Like in a Geordie accent. And I said no. In fact, I said in fact, I'm just down for Glasgow. I said, "I've written a play." He said, "You the Bender like Bobby guy?" And I said, "Aye." He says, "Why guys? Bender like Bobby guy?"
Bender like Bobby guy.
I'm the Bender like Bobby guy. I said, "That's," and then he was, and I said, "Well,
tell Jarvis that."
And I said, "Aye, Beckham no more." And so I said to the guy, my idea basically, I've done this wee poster, my idea was to try and come down, and he says, "I know Bobby really well."
So see if you fell out that window, you'd land on the roof.
Sorry, side up. So we then get to the end of it, and we need to edit this bit out. That's one way to say it. So we get to the end. Finish at midnight. Back up the road. I've got this big daft thing in my bag and a poster and stuff like that. The guy's called Stuart. I said, Stuart, can we go and see Bobby now? Aye. And then the company said to everyone, he said, all the guys would be happy to sign your anything you want. I think no, because I just want to see Bobby myself. I just want to see Bobby. Bobby's mine. Oh yeah, Bobby man. So Stuart and I heading up on the stage, and the stage is about the height of that table. So we're clamping up on the stage, and there's hundreds of people obviously trying to get to Bobby Moncur, and this guy Stuart just pushes the one aside, and I'm getting through, and then he's there. He's like where Chris is now, Bobby Moncur. He looks great for a man in mid-70s, 75, 70s. Oh, Chris looks great.
Does.
Oh, for a man in his mid-70s.
Aye, it looks no bad.
So Bobby looks great, and this guy Stuart says, Bobby, Jim Orr. Bobby's
the playwright.
Oh, Bobby's got this glade look. Says, Bobby, Jim Orr's written a play about you. And I'm saying, well, Bobby, it's not exactly about you. It's
about Bobby, man.
It's about the Fairs Cup run. And so I said, any chance you could take a picture of this poster? So I gave this very daft poster, and he looks at it, and he looks at me, and he says, you've written a play about me? And I said, aye. He says, and then he stands up with the poster, and I get my picture, and then it's on my phone.
This is history.
So I've been trying every so often, and I found somebody in Newcastle who was keen to help me put it on. And the last effort was a month or two ago, where he thought, again, we should try and get this on sometime.
Yeah.
And in fact, I booked the Tyneside Ivy Centre for 2 nights in June last year, and then COVID hit.
So you had a casting stuff ready for it?
No, the guy down there was going to organise all that.
Okay.
All I was going to do is, again, the rehearsed reading route. Again, you go through there and do a rehearsed reading, and if it goes well, plus the fact that new owners now, they might be. But for the old owners, I'd actually contacted Newcastle after written it.
Right.
And I emailed the commercial manager, and I got a reply within 2 minutes. And I thought, it's an out of office, but it wasn't. He said, we're not interested, and that was it. And I think because of the old regime, the Mike Ashley, and why would you want to be reminded of the last time you won a cup? Whereas I think maybe under the new regime, I've been very fortunate to find something that I like doing.
Yeah.
That you can spend a lot of time doing it, and then from that flows loads of stories. I've made a boxing play that was on next March, no more. The Tommy Gilmore story.
Right.
You remember Tommy? Yeah. So it's a kind of about his family. It's a kind of fantasy thing.
Okay.
It's not a Tommy Gilmore story.
But again, it's that historical fiction thing, which
what I was keen to do.
And see, when I think about it, I hadn't thought about this before, Jim, because I talk about historical fiction, and you think about wartime stories and all that. But my book is historical fiction, if you like. Yeah. Because it's based on fact, but it's only as I remember them, and it's obviously embellished with what everybody works round about that. And I'm quite passionate about this, Jim, because I had no intentions of writing anything at all. But like you, I had that inkling that I'd like to someday, but it's always getting put off and put off and put off. And the guy that I know that did that most was my father. Right. He always used to say that he was going to write a book, and he never ever did, and he passed away without having done so. So for people that are watching this, if there's anybody left, if anybody's left awake now at 3 o'clock in the morning that tried to watch it in one go, the message is brilliant, because you're an accountant, family man, football, all the usual stuff going on, but this inkling inside that you wanted to create something, and you pursued it, and everybody's saying you're daft, and that's almost part of the process, isn't it? Yeah. It's people thinking you're wasting your time. For goodness sake, get real.
I think there doesn't have to be an end.
No, in fact there can't be, because
it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I've had a number of people who say to me, I'd love to write a book. And you say, just do it, but no, very good. Just do it. Yeah. The hardest thing is to write on the first page.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what your hobby is. It doesn't have to be an end product to it. My wife likes doing jigsaws, so she maybe twice a year she'll do a 2,000-piece jigsaw or something like that. You know, it might take a couple of weeks and rolls out stuff.
Well, you do know what the end of that's going to be, though. Hopefully. What? You know the bit. I don't know the end. You can't start.
But in terms of, it's not as if she's going to then take a picture of that and show it to somebody. It's just like, I've done that for the enjoyment of doing it, whether it's therapeutic or whatever it is. So whatever your hobby is, you do your hobby. And if you find a hobby that's pretty cheap, and there's nothing much cheaper than writing.
Tell me the process then, because I've spoken to...
Do you want hints, big man? Is that what you're saying?
If it's only 3,500 words, that's me saved 136,000 words right away.
No, plays about 14,000. Right.
But your daily process then, you've got the idea,
Yeah.
Do you know the whole story when you start, Jim?
No.
No?
No, you go for tangents. Best, this is another story.
Do you know the beginning, the middle and the end when you start?
No. You know, roughly, I mean, a very, very quick story is one of the sitcoms that I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
It was about two guys going to work and coming back from work. And
Sounds riveting so far.
no, well, in actual fact, I thought it was a unique story, and I entered competitions, right? And there's thousands entered these competitions for sitcoms.
Yes, yes.
And about 2 years
Of
after,
course,
2 years after doing this, writing for like 5 episodes, I comes back to work one night and the wife says, "Have you seen the paper today?" And he thought, obviously something big's happened in the paper. No, Peter Kay's new sitcom, Calcia.
Couple going to work.
Exact same premise that I had.
Wow.
And I had 2 years before that. I'm not saying that. The name was two guys, two Glasgow guys. One picks the other up. They go to work the first half. They come back for like the second half. In the first one, you do things that's going to be based on your own life.
Yes.
And I had one kind of surreal incident where I worked in Garton Naval, so I'd go on the Clyde Expressway, and one day it was just pouring the rain, and you know there's wee bumps and stuff at the Clyde.
Yeah.
Over this one bump, and it was like a river, and the car just
The other side.
and you sat there.
That's called the Clyde.
No, just it was just massive, and then there was nobody else on the expressway but me. That was it.
You'd missed a sign
And
somewhere.
I'm putting the radio on, and like, listen, the Clyde Expressway is now shut. So I phoned the EA, whoever it was, like, and I gave them the wrong details of the car, because I've got a car, I've got a car, and I'd heard car that day.
You've got your camera at that point.
So I said, I've got and I sat there for like, and I tried to open the door and the water came in,
Oh, wow.
and the SEC was there. It was freezing. It was surreal, totally surreal.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, there's a wee episode you could write.
Yes.
You're doing that. So my idea was basically a guy picks a guy up to go to work, and the police are stopping him all the time, saying, "Look, turn back, you'll not make it." And I said, "No, we need to get here. Important thing." Da. And then one cop says, "What's so important about that?" I said, "We've got a meeting." And the guy who's a bit kind of daft, he says, "Who are you meeting?" He said, "We're meeting Joe Fraser." And they just came out of nowhere, Joe Fraser.
Right.
I says, "Do you Joe Fraser?" "Aye." "What about it?" So then he says, "Oh, I'm a huge Joe Fraser fan." Old man, all my family. "Why is he in Glasgow?" "He's fighting." "Christ, he must be in his 60s. "Aye, it's an exhibition for charity." So he used to make it better. So
On the spot.
One of the sitcom, I think there's only something like 6 or 7 different types of stories in a sitcom, and one's called The Big Lie. So
Okay.
you tell a big lie and you embellish it and embellish it and embellish it.
Right.
So I'm writing this story about like, 2 guys going to the pub and they caught in the Clyde Expressway in the rain. And next thing I'm talking about Joe Fraser.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, like, and what's great these days is the internet.
You've
is
got all
Google.
that information at your
So,
fingertips.
right, okay, so I know as much as you do about Joe Fraser, chances are. So what can I find about Joe Fraser? Wikipedia, Joe Fraser, born, died. Hold on, Joe Fraser died. Didn't know he was dead. Right, hold on. Right, so he's out. Right, but I love the idea about the boxer.
Yes.
So I can make a story about two old boxing guys coming to fight in Glasgow for charity. Right, okay, right, who else can I get? So I'm going to Leon Spike, stuff like that. So then I come up against it, and I don't want George Foreman because he's like an obvious one. Right?
Okay,
So,
not a Scottish one.
not a Scottish
We
one.
could have grilled him.
Has to be 2.
We could have grilled Joe from
Do you know we've got a ex-professional boxer in the room?
Right? You?
No. No. I'm not ex.
So, and because I'm on
People
camera,
don't know that, do they, Chris?
I wasn't professional.
Are you not?
No.
Your boy is.
Yeah.
hardest sport in the world, definitely hardest sport in the world. So,
I know, no when he was doing it.
so I'm scouting all these other ones, and for life, I just went blank there.
It's hard for my opponents. It was easy for me.
But it was was the Foreman? His nickname was the
Hold
Eastwood.
on, nobody responded to my joke. We're getting George Foreman in and grilling him.
Oh, I missed that.
How did
I missed
that
that.
Chris Buck still available for the mitzvahs. So
Not George
What's
Foreman,
what's
not
the
Joe
George
Frazier.
Foreman? It was I can't remember his name, but he was what's the Leon Spinks. His nickname was the Eastman Assassin, right? The Eastern Assassin, because he came from a place called Easton.
Russia.
And he's not an American guy whose
Marvin
name
Hagler?
just escaped me.
No.
Not Hagler. No, this was a 70s, 80s fighter. Anyway, I picked this new guy and I Wikipedia him, and he's still alive, and that's good. And then I get to know his record.
Joe Norton.
No, it's
Ken Norton. Yeah.
Ken Norton.
this is terrible. I can't.
Anyway,
the guy
Black and
whoever he
white.
was, whoever he was, I then Google him and I find all this information, his nickname sort of thing, you know. And then so when you redo that, then the guy stops and what's the meeting for? And he says the guy's name. He says, "He's an assassin." And the guy's going, "Aye, that's it." And then the guy says, "I'm a huge fan," and starts telling things. The guy's obviously bluffing it, saying, "Oh, so why is he here? Oh, he's fighting such and such. Why is that
Exhibition,
Glasgow?
blah, blah,
Da da da." and that then spirals out of control.
Yeah.
So I think I'm off at a tangent.
Like
but-
lies
but-
do.
well,
Remember
lies
that,
do,
Chris?
right? This
Off that tangent.
this one started off.
Again.
Getting me off. This one started off live. There's two guys that get trapped in the place in Expressway and end up in a boxing thing.
That's a good shot.
So I ended up in this box, and so I had no idea where that was going to go. And it was just the Joe Frazier. As soon as I thought of that, and then I think this would be
Triggers
fun.
another and
If
triggers
that-
another.
And then you start thinking about how little you know about boxing, and then you start a debate about how mad boxing is, and people wearing dressing gowns
Yeah.
and stuff like
And I
that.
suppose every sitcom especially starts off with that premise, a one sentence premise.
Absolutely, yeah.
Two old guys living in a house and scheme,
Yeah,
who are, their wives are gone,
Yeah.
and they're on their own, all they've got is the pub really,
Correct.
in their lives.
brilliant.
And all of a sudden you've got the whole premise for still game, or whatever. I take it you guessed what I was talking about.
No, I was a little confused. I was Waltons for a second. Boxer starts with an E. You're the boxing guy, it starts with an E. It's not Evander Holyfield, it's escape me. But to answer the question you asked, do you know?
Internet.
No, really. It's kind of, it can go off at tangents, and that's why, that's the fun of it. Because in
Yeah.
actual fact, you start off something like that, and it goes like that, and then you end up thinking, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd never thought of that. And that's the only advice I would give to anyone, is if you don't write anything, you'll never go off on that
You'll
tangent.
never go off. Jim, we could talk all day.
We could.
Or you could anyway, I have to hardly
could.
get a word in edgeways here.
We could, Simon. We could.
Remember what I told you about Bella Thistle, the new team that we're putting
Yes.
together, and you're penciled in for that.
Yes, looking forward to it. Yeah.
I need to speak to you again about some of the plays that you're doing, because we're getting back into it now. The world's coming alive again, and hopefully that'll include some of your work getting out there again.
Hope so.
It's a shame that you built that platform and had all that in COVID, but it's done that to
Plenty
so
of
much,
time,
hasn't
Simon.
it?
Plenty of
Yeah,
time for stuff.
stacks of time.
Plenty.
Jim, it's been a real pleasure having you over.
Cheers.
All the best.